Well, we're here with Gary Oppedahl, a fellow member of FCCI, and we're just here to have a fireside chat to just talk about his life, his experience, his life with FCCI, how FCCI has impacted his organization, and just kind of what is his vision and thoughts in the future in terms of how he would like to see the Lord continue to be working in his life, and just some ideas from him as to how we move forward in FCCI. So Gary, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Terence. Thank you.
Well, it is a pleasure to see you again from the conference. Can you tell me, how did you come about getting connected with FCCI?
We went to a regional conference here in Albuquerque that was advertised at a Faith at Work luncheon. And once we saw the regional, what was going on regional, how God was moving in there, we got hooked up with a local Christ at Work group here in Albuquerque. From there, we knew about the national conference coming up in Tucson last year, and we went and just thoroughly enjoyed it. And my business partner and I said, this has got to be our priority conference of the year. From a business standpoint, it's our priority conference of the year, let alone what we get out of it personally.
Okay. What have been some of the experiences, some of the values of FCCI that you can describe for us?
Well, one of the things that I think I've always believed is that the workplace is a mission field. We always talk about, be a light wherever you can. Well, you can be a light at church, but there's lots of light there already. And where should you really be a light is at work, because that's where the darkness is. That's where the real mission field is in our lives. I mean, as a business owner, you can impact that culture and that business and be a light and have that light shine out, not only through your employees, but through your vendors, your customers. And I've always been the one to think that we should be commissioning people onto the mission field on Sundays for Monday for work, just like we do if they're going overseas to a mission field.
Absolutely.
That's the thing that is just amazing about FCCI. I mean, not only do you get lots of biblical principles that work in the business and can help you every day, but you can actually see how to use your business as a ministry. And that is just something that really resonated with us in our company.
Well, that's fantastic. You hit the nail around the head. I think you do ministry where you live, work, play, and worship. But where you spend the majority of your time is in the workplace.
That's right.
And so tell me a little bit about what has taken place in your workplace, in your organization. What changes have you seen from the first time you started this journey, if you will, with FCCI, and really just wanting to bring marketplace ministry into a real life situation in your workplace? Can you explain to me and share some of the stories and some of the things that have happened in your organization?
One of the main things that happened is, the realization that in Matthew 28 it says, make disciples as you go. And so each morning, and I was challenged in Tucson by one of the seminar leaders to say, you know what, you really need to develop a prayer time and develop that first hour. And so ever since then, every day I get up 1 hour early before my first appointment. And just think about all the folks that I'm going to meet during the day. I do my plans, and I think, who am I going to meet? Who am I going to interact with? How can I be a blessing to that person? And that has been a huge change in my overall outlook. What can I bring value to them instead of what can I get out of the interaction? I mean, that alone has been a huge paradigm shift for us. And it really has made people in the community sit up and take notice about we are really out there. We're not competing. It's not competition. It's co-opetition.
Absolutely.
It's not. I'm gonna kill you with data, make you cry. I'm gonna put the screws to you. In a negotiation. We're out there for long-lasting relationships. One of the things that really hit me at this conference last time is we take care of people physically, mentally, emotionally, then spiritually. Because I think if we go over and hit people over the head with some spiritual message and then say, okay, if you listen to me, you can have a sandwich, that doesn't work so well. But if you go out and you take care of them in the way that Christ wants us to take care of people, then they're much more open to hear a message, and they might even ask, how do you like that? Well, do you really care about me and you want anything in return? How does that work?
Sure. When I think about it, there's several different options as it relates to marketplace ministry. And so one of the things I'm curious as a new president and CEO of FCCI, what attracted you to FCCI and why FCCI? I mean, why you remain and why you continue to want to lead your company as a Christian company as you go forward?
Well, three things, and it's the three things that happen. I mean, if you look at the national conference, you are looking at just preeminent people that have been able to not only put God in charge of their business, but have been very successful in business. Mm-hmm. Those two things are not incongruent, and to watch those kinds of talent on stage be able to relate to them as to how to build your business is huge. On the regional level, we have folks that gather from your own region that you can get together with and see each other at work from a regional standpoint and get together and listen to speakers and do that. But the thing that's the most impactful to me is that weekly meeting, the Christ at Work meeting, where we get around and there's 10 to 12 of us, and we watch some old conference material, we hear some lessons, sure, but just the real practical day-to-day, I'm dealing with this. How do I turn this into an opportunity to build a kingdom in my business? That weekly meeting is so important. I'm a slow learner and a fast forgetter, and if I'm not steeped in that stuff all the time, I start diverging.
Well, I think you hit it on the head. The transformation truly takes place in what I call life-on-life discipleship, and that's what's taking place in those weekly, meetings. We call them business leadership group meetings, where there's 10 to 12 men and women sitting around the table, talking about their life, their organization life, and how really the Lord has been working in their business and moving forward. And they have a think tank of consultants, if you will, around the table, sharing ideas and concepts and working through issues. That has to be a very powerful setting.
It's amazing. I mean, and we always have to be reminded. I've got this problem. Well, have you prayed about it? Yeah, I need to do that. We sometimes just think as business leaders, I've got to get through this. I've got to do this. If I'm not successful, the company's going to fail, and it's all on me. Well, if you're just looking at me, that's all you get is the best I got. And then we're constantly reminded in that group that if we depend on God, well, now we've got a much better, wiser boss to get answers from and report to. And in our group, we have everything from technical to service, and to hear people say, I actually pray for my technical answers. Yes. Is just so huge. I mean, because the relationship answers, we sometimes tend to more do, but God is concerned about all aspects of our business. Absolutely. And we sometimes forget that. Yes. And it's a great reminder on a weekly basis.
The primary principle that we practice here at FCCI and teach is that we're stewards of the business. God is truly the owner of the business. And it seems as though that those type of principles are playing themselves out in your organization. Can you tell me, for example, as we kind of wrap through this, a real live example of a testimony or a God story, if you will, that happened in your organization or an issue that you were working through, and as a result of being as a member, as a associate, if you will, of FCCI, how is FCCI, the group, beneficial to you?
Well, there's no question that everything from benefits to how we want to lead our lives in this fashion is just such a big part of it, and it has totally changed the way we hire people. I think the last 3-4 hires in the business have come from putting it out to our FCCI group, and getting folks to come in and it just really performed and fit in well with the culture. And I think we've seen an overall shift in the culture at work towards more of a giving and more of a God-centered culture. And I think that's been the biggest thing. And then having all of us as a management team, praying before our meetings and asking for wisdom in the decisions that we do and waiting for an answer is probably the hugest of them.
Well, and finally, your son is and your family is very active in your business now. In fact, I think they're you've been transitioning, or maybe have already transitioned. And so, as I look about generational impact and generational transition, I mean, you're a real live, living testimony of how that plays out. Can you tell me, did FCCI play a role or help you in that process at all, or how is it helping you now as you deal with that issue?
Well, and I constantly say, it would have been nice to have found FCCI years ago. Glad I found it now. But what a blessing it is for my son, who is much younger, to get this at this point in his life and be able to see the impact that it can have on an organization at this point in his life is just huge. And I think the transition has been easier, especially since the fact that he has taken these principles and accelerated them much faster than I would have even done it. And I think that's the huge part. Right? It's just made it such a blessing to be able to continue on with that.
Mm-hmm. Has your family life changed at all?
Well, it has. You know, the first hour that I do every morning, you know, getting myself straight before I even attempt to go into work with the distractions has been huge. And so praying every morning, and then as part of that, reading the Bible with my wife every evening has been a huge change. It's made a big difference in the family life.
Well, Gary, I certainly appreciate you coming and talking to us today and sharing your life with FCCI and sharing your life as a part of FCCI. And we're going to be talking to your son earlier. I mean, later on, a little bit later on, he's going to share some great things, and hopefully he'll have some nice things to say about you. But I just want to thank you for stopping by and talking a little bit and breaking some bread. And I look forward to some wonderful things coming out of Albuquerque, New Mexico.